Hello, good morning. Hi, Tony. Hi,
Good
Jody.
evening.
I'm doing great this morning, Saturday morning for me, 9 a.m. for me in the Pacific.
Mm.
Yeah, how about you? You been up
Lunchtime.
at lunchtime? Yes. Well, feel free to have, have your lunch while you're watching,
Good.
if that works for you. Welcome everybody. Come on in. Lots of people today, I believe. Well, a lot of people signed up. We'll see who shows up. Sometimes we get excited. We sign up for a lot of things and then something comes up. All right. Just give it another minute or two to everybody coming in. And Nina, can you make me host again, please?
Yes, in the process.
Hi, Robin. Good to see you again. And Cease is here. Boy, lots of people I know. That's wonderful.
Great, thank you.
I missed you last week. I was in the car and I missed a lot of things.
Oh yeah, no worries. I believe, I don't have the, it's not up to me what gets scheduled every week for my classes, but pretty much they are scheduling most of my classes every week. I think I've created 10 courses now, so there's quite a few. So maybe sometimes I'll miss one week, but it'll show up usually the next week. So
Okay.
yeah, so good to have everybody here. And I'll just double check here. Yeah, we're all good. All right, we got lots of people coming in this morning. This is great. This is a pretty brand new class. I think I've only taught it the one time. Did I teach it last week? I think that was my first time. Yes, last Friday was the first time I taught this class.
Is it true you're going to clean someone's home?
Pardon me?
Is it true you're going to have a raffle to clean someone's home?
No. Wouldn't that be neat? No, let's face it, we're all in different places, right? So, but I'm going to make it so easy for you to do some of these things that it's gonna feel really good. There's only one thing that I have adopted doing in my own home. Now I'm lucky it's not a huge place. My husband and I are in a 2-bedroom condo. 2 bathrooms though. 2 bathrooms, are the one I don't like cleaning. But when I teach you the few things, like the final thing that comes up in the class is pretty exciting, and I think that you're going to want to do it when you find out, and I was excited when I found this out. When I found out this neat tip. So we'll get to that at the very end. All right, so let's get ourselves started. It doesn't look like I have anybody. Nina, are you my support person for the whole class, or are you? No, because I don't see anybody else that's come into class.
No, I'm just checking in for the first 5 minutes. Make sure everybody has their audio and video on.
Okay. All right. So I have to make sure I've got my chat box. So this is what I'm going to ask everybody. Real quick, if you could use the reactions button down the bottom, you'll see it if you cursor down. And the reactions button, you can give me a thumbs up if you're agreeing with stuff, or you want to participate. You can do the clap. But if you have a question, just click the raise hand and it'll come up. And then to lower your hand, you have to click lower hand. The other things that come up, you can put a heart, whatever you want to put. Those things just automatically disappear after 30 seconds or a minute or something. There you go, Mary. Yeah, that's right. So once you put your hand up, then you have to click it off to turn it off, because it'll be a little bit harder for me to see what's going on in chat. But let's get ourselves started, because now where did that, Jane, is it Jane? Yeah, Jane, I know you are in the UK, so it's a little bit later than for all of us that are in North America. So good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are at. Let's get the screen shared. So this brand new class, this is the Detoxing Your Home for Better Health. You're kind of in luck. My husband works in environment. He's got a master's in environmental engineering, and so he really actually helped me when I was putting some of these slides together, because that's his expertise. So that's pretty exciting. And sorry, yeah, it's Janice. There's Janice. Hi, Janice. And so, yeah, so we got some really great stuff. And really, the reason that I feel that this class is important is because we want to do all these great things typically for our health and wellness for ourselves. So what we put in our body, what we put on our body, but sometimes we forget about our environment and like what is around us. So that's really important. So I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second because I'm going to hit the record button. See, I don't have a helper today, a full-time helper. So we have to do everything ourselves. All right. It could be because it's Saturday, possibly. All right. So now you can see my screen again. So detoxing your home for better health. And for those of you who have not met me, my name is Ravina. I am in Canada. I think I'm one of 2 guides that are located in Canada. I'm on the very, very west coast in Victoria, British Columbia. So that's like pretty much as west coast as you can go. So if you know where Seattle is located, you would drive like 2 hours north and then you would hit kind of where I live. So that gives you sort of a sense if you know where Oregon or Portland, Oregon, Washington, and Seattle, sort of that sort of area. So yeah, and I've just been involved with health and wellness for a long time, and it kind of goes nicely with my husband's environmental stuff. So we kind of can discuss some interesting things about health and wellness. So we do learn from each other. So if you get a chance, and if you want to, if you're not like eating your lunch, or we don't care if you're eating your lunch, I don't care. So if you want to put your camera on, that's great, because we have a little bit more interaction that way, because then I can at least see who's in the class. And we do record the classes. So just please send an email to the help@getsetup.io if you would like the recording. We are live streaming today's class, which means that there are those that are not registered in the class like yourself, and they're able to click a button, the TV icon on our website, and get right into the class and see what's going on. They can hear us, they can see us, but they can't see the chat and they can't interact with us. So, there could be 2 people watching, or there could be, 500 people watching, who knows? But anyways, hi to all those that are live streaming. And then lastly, we don't get any kickbacks or anything for any products I might talk about or services. It's just, if it's something I talk about, it might be because it's something that I really love and something that I use. I don't think I talk too much about specific products, but certain things that you can buy any product, any brand. All right, so today we're going to understand why are there so many harmful chemicals out there? Like, I'd like to know that. Why does it seem like there's more and more and more? We're going to learn the most common toxins in our home, typically in our home. And then we're going to learn some simple action steps that we can take to protect ourselves, because that's really what it's about. Unfortunately, although, our governments and the people out there that test this kind of stuff, they do have our health. Health is what they're pursuing. But I know for sure in Canada, my husband works for our government. He works for the provincial government, and his job is human health. So he looks at the soil, the air, the water that we drink in my area. But I know, and you'll see as we go through this, they have great intentions, but we do also need to look after ourselves, because sometimes something that might be harmful, they haven't figured that out for 10 years. Meanwhile, you might be ingesting or have this harmful thing near you for 10 years until they know. They don't just tell you right away. So you'll see why. All right, is everybody good? Are we ready to get started? Any questions before we get started?
I took another class, and it said 40% of the people who smoke get dementia. 40%. And that the toxins from cars also cause dementia within 154 feet of a busy street. That
is in my optimal brain class. That's the class that I teach. So I can
okay.
just clarify. So I'll just clarify that for you if anybody's taken the class. when I was talking in that class about risk factors are all just more about probability, the chance of, the probability of, the likelihood. So do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're going to get something, but it means
Right.
you're increasing your chance, your risk of it. So
Right, I meant to
smokers,
say that, sorry, I'm
yeah,
glad you
so
did
yeah,
clarify.
so smokers have a 45% higher risk of getting dementia. And
45,
then
okay.
toxins, 45% risk of getting it versus the person who doesn't smoke. So it's a little bit different than saying 45% will get dementia. So
Right,
there's
right.
a little bit of a difference. And yes, being close to busy roads with the pollution, they've researched it and they have found more people that live near busy roads and get that constant pollution in their lungs if they have their windows open or their doors, have a higher risk of getting dementia. So yeah, like there's some pretty big, it's a pretty big to do here. So let's get going through it. And as I say, if you have a question, just like pop your hand up and I should be able to see it on the screen. So how many of us have actually switched to organic or natural products for our cleaning, specifically to avoid the harmful chemicals that we think we might be exposed to? Has anybody done that or thought to do that? Yeah, a few of you. It's difficult, right? Because it's confusing. There's so many things out there and you don't know. Just because they say natural on a label doesn't mean it has all really good product ingredients in it. We know we get tricked sometimes. I'll use a harsh word like tricked, because they'll say natural. There's even products out there that have the word organic in the name, but it's not organic. It's just part of the label, like the name. So you have to be really, really careful when you are buying your products. I will put out a shout out to, now I'm not part of any particular market, what do they call it? MLMs, multi-level marketing companies. Now, where I'm not talking about pyramid schemes where there's no product and it's just, those things are illegal, but multi-level marketing companies like Amway or like Shackley, and that's the one I wanted to bring up. There's another company and I think it's called, it's on the tip of my tongue. I see it all the time, but it promotes healthy, clean household products to use for cleaning. And I do know Shackley because that's the one that I use. Now, again, I'm not getting paid for this or whatever, but I use Shackley for my laundry detergent now, for my Sprint Clean, my windows and all that kind of stuff, because their products are 100% clean. So don't be afraid of some of these multi-level marketing companies that have products. If you know somebody who sells something, find out, but do your research, like read the ingredients, ask your questions. They're not all horrible. Like a lot of times these types of products might be preferable to what you can buy on your grocery shelf in the grocery store. So because they're under a lot of scrutiny, some of these companies, so they do their science and they check out a lot of things. So I just wanted to put that out front, that I do a lot of my own cleaning with things that I'll talk to you about, but I do use their mirror cleaner and for example, their whitener that you put in the detergent into your laundry, in your washer. They don't have, I don't know what's in the other stuff. There's chemicals and stuff, but what they do for whitening, they have enzymes. So enzymes to kind of clean and make it whiter. So all really natural stuff. So that's just an example. Okay, so let's look at how can we avoid toxins in our home? Well, the first thing is what affects our health. This 8 pillars of wellness, I put that up because I really like that slide. I like the image where it talks about, well, what are the 8 pillars of wellness? So we're not going to go into detail with it, but I wanted to show you that. So the 8 pillars are physical, are social, emotional, occupational, financial, spiritual, intellectual, and environmental. Those are the 8 pillars that make up our wellness for us, for each and every one of us. All of those things have an impact on our wellness. That's kind of what it means by the 8 pillars. But so what affects our health? Well, what we eat, our diet, how much we move our body. So we call that exercise, but I don't like to use that word because it sounds like work. So I always think of it as movement. What else affects how healthy we are? Unfortunately and fortunately, our genetics, right? Sometimes we're dealt something we don't really love in our DNA. Maybe we're more prone to diabetes, like that runs in my family. But also our genetics can be, you've got a grandma or grandpa or a father or mother that's, lived a long life, and you're hoping that that genetic code has been passed down to you. But our genetics do definitely have an impact on our health and wellness. And, way back in ancestor times, and even with animals, like with any of that genetic code, you get your genetics from your ancestors. And then, if you think of it like in a sort of a big group of people, who are the ones that survive, sort of the stronger ones, the ones that weren't as weak. And so over time, hopefully you have some strong genetics. Because unfortunately the ones that were weaker, kind of like kittens, like the little one, the runt, sometimes doesn't make it, right? That happens. So that's a little sad. But anyway, so just to get a sense of genetics. Medical history, your medical history can make a difference in terms of what your health and wellness is. Like, does your family have a history of high blood pressure? Maybe that gets kind of passed down to you. Or your medical history, you suffered a few medical conditions, so now you have to be even extra careful with your health moving forward, because you have suffered from depression in the past, or you've had a heart issue in the past. So you've got to be a little extra careful. Our family and our social support system is very, very important for our health. Isn't it amazing and fantastic when anybody in your household decides they want to be healthy? Isn't that kind of exciting, because they're on track with you? Like, you don't have a spouse or kids eating, store-bought pizza, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of things that aren't the greatest to eat, but you know what I mean, like fatty or sweets, lots of sugar in the house, when you're trying to not eat sugar and it's all over the cupboards and in the fridge. It's pretty hard. You open the fridge and there's like a big pie or something, when you were really trying to change. So when you have family support and social support, you've got a group of friends who like to go walking, and you support each other to do healthy things, it makes it so much better. And then it's our environment. And that's kind of what we're going to talk more about today, is the environment. So we can do all we want to be all healthy and eating great food, but if our environment isn't all that healthy, remember our skin. What is our skin? Isn't it the largest organ in our bodies? Right? Skin is our largest organ. So a lot of stuff can come through our skin. All right. So why are toxic chemicals a problem for older adults? So talking about all of us, 50 and above, most of us are 50 years old or higher. So the reason why it's a problem for us is, first of all, we have access to too much information, right? Don't we? I mean, we can Google anything, or whatever search thing you use, search engine you use. A lot of people use Google. We can Google anything and look up anything, and there's going to be for and against anything we look up. I bet you if you look up smoking, there'll be some study to say that, hey, smoking's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's always contradictive information. So it is very hard for us to find the truth. So sometimes we have to know of certain websites that really talk about the facts, not the myths or what's out there in the media. And believe me, really, really remember this. Even though you might love that one TV channel or that news channel, media is media. Sometimes they report stuff and it is not true. It's maybe half true or a part true, but until they come up with the breaking story one day and you hear, oh, it could something. Well, then maybe you don't watch the news for the next day or the next day after that. Well, then that's when they get it a little bit more accurate, closer to accurate, because now they have more of the real facts. Before, they were kind of speculating. And that can be with anything. I mean, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. Isn't that one of the biggest things? Like, you really have to look at your source for your information when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to COVID, like anything to do with the pandemic. So sometimes it's better just to turn it off and wait till the real, quote, better, more accurate information comes out. So what I'm saying is, even with environment and our toxins, you really got to know what the source is of your information. The second thing is, unfortunately, it's great for kids and families, but a lot of the information that is out there is targeted for families and their children, because that's a big deal. You don't want your kids to be exposed to some toxin, right, when they're children. But what about us? What about us in our older age? It doesn't target us. It's always targeted typically to families and children. And I learned this from my husband, because he said, yeah, usually it's about pregnant women. And, of course, it's so important, and the young kids. But what about the older person? What about our health? The other thing is, we sometimes are at more risk than, say, somebody in their teens. Why is that? Because we might have certain medical conditions that makes it us even more vulnerable than, say, a child. So keep that in mind as we move forward. I wanted to it's like when in my nutrition class, I talk about, we get excited about, oh, we got to have carrots and a balanced meal for our kids, but we forget that when we're in our older age, we also need really healthy, nutritious food. So here's the really big one that we forget. We forget this one. How long have you been on this earth? Are you in your 4th decade, 5th decade, 6th decade, maybe 7th decade in this class? Maybe there's even people in their 8th decade. So, 10 decade meaning 10. So we could be in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Guess how much time we've had to build up toxins in our body? Have you thought of it that way? I hadn't thought of it that way. So you got a 15-year-old, they've only been on Earth for 15 years. So even if they're, got something toxic near them, it's only been 15 years versus, say, yourself, who's 60 years. Huge, isn't that? That's a one thing to think about. So we've been here long enough. And remember, there's certain toxins that come into our body, and it takes, a lot of time to get it out of our body. Like some of these trace minerals, things like what's an example? Mercury. Remember, we used to get it all in our teeth. It's a lot to get mercury out of our bodies. Like, it sticks in there. And you have to be careful when you expose it too, right? We've heard, maybe you haven't, but when you decide to get the mercury taken out of your fillings and replaced, you should not do them all at the same time, because you would too high of a toxic load for your body. So you need to do a few at a time. And when the dentist is doing it, what are they? Fully masked, gloved, the whole works, because it's that toxic. And guess what? We were putting it in our bodies. We were putting it in our fillings. But now we know better. What about, what's the other thing? You remember the stuff, like we used to have lead in our paint. Do you remember? And do you remember when that came out so many years ago? It's like, oh, we got to get to our schools. Like, and I agree. We got to get the lead out of the paint in our schools, because our 7-year-old that's in grade 2 is getting this lead. But what about the older people that are living in an older home and the paint is full of lead? Remember asbestos? They're still pulling that out of some homes, some older homes. All right, so this isn't to freak you out if you live in an older home, like a heritage home or something like that. I myself am living in a newer condo, but guess what? There's newer chemicals. Now, one thing also on the slide, I want you to remember, our doctors have our back, right? They want to do good. They want to help us to be healthier. But guess what? Our doctors might not have the most up-to-date knowledge in this field. And why is that? Well, they're busy people. They're busy men and women. They might have learned in med school about certain toxins, but as you see, every year we have more and more toxins and chemicals coming out, as like they're creating all sorts of stuff. A doctor may not be up to date. So what do you need to do to help yourself? You need to be up to date yourself. You need to be aware. And that's why you're taking this class, which is awesome. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat, so we'll just keep moving along. All right, so here's the thing. The world has changed. The world has changed. I don't need to really tell you all that. You all know the world has changed. There are thousands of new chemicals introduced every single year. That's a fact. Scientists are constantly advancing. And so when they're doing their, even making their, and I haven't really done a lot of this, but that food that they're making that tastes like meat, but it's not meat. If you guys seen that, it's all over the place. Beyond Meat and Beyond this, they're making sausage that's like that. They're doing also, when these scientists are in their labs doing all this stuff, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess to do with food, hopefully it's safe, but how do I know it's a brand new food? So scientists are constantly advancing, and therefore there's dangers that are constantly being identified every year. We might not know this.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is tofu included in that? Because it's not really.
Well, tofu is made from real food. It's made from soybeans.
Okay.
This is from a nutritional point of view, which, because I teach nutrition and stuff, I can say tofu often is GMO and, genetically modified. Not always. There's some that's non-GMO. We don't know enough about GMO.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that since we're all in class today talking about toxins, we don't know if GMO is going to affect us 19 years from now. We don't know. Right. So a lot of people will avoid GMO foods. Now, Janice, is she still here? Yes. I know in the UK, they're more strict about GMO foods. Like maybe they're not even allowed in the country. I know here in Canada, we do have GMO foods. There's a lot of corn and things that are not GMO. So you must read your label. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to kill you tomorrow, but we don't know. That's the key, is that they don't know. There was what was that? Orange. I'm trying to think. It was called orange, something orange. There's things that my mom.
Orange.
Yes. Orange. Yes, there's things that my mother was exposed to as a young mom in the 60s and 70s that they found out in the 90s, like, oh, that wasn't good. So Here's the other thing, and I put it on the slide. Now, hopefully nobody here works for the government, or if you do, you might agree with me. I myself worked my last job with the federal government of Canada. So it was like the federal government, all of Canada. My husband works with the province, the state, basically, of the government. Governments are falling behind. That's a statement. That's accurate statement. They are falling behind. Why? Because there are more and more chemicals. Departments are overwhelmed. They might be working on the one that's causing the most problems. And I know this because I have personal experience with this with my loved one. They're looking at the soil. Maybe a factory's opened up somewhere, and now they're looking at the soil. Is the soil clean enough for people to grow their own food? Little small towns where we live. Well, yes.
Where are you in Canada?
I'm in Victoria, BC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you in Canada?
Yeah, in Alberta.
Okay.
But a lot of places in Canada are having problems with wind turbines.
Yes.
They find that their cattle are their cows are having miscarriages for calves and different things like that because of I don't know what it is, but it's something to do with the electricity.
Yes. Oh, and isn't that amazing, right? Like, we just don't know enough. I remember when I was growing up, there was where those big, what do you call it? The power plant, not power plant, but the electrical, I don't know what you call it. It was up
wind
the street.
Turbines.
Well, it wasn't wind, but it was the electrical lines, like the power lines. It was like an area up the street from my house where there was all these power lines, and like people were living like so close to it, and you could hear the buzzing, hear the buzz, that sound.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it caused anything, but it sure kind of felt like it can't be good to live that close to it, right? That's just, as a kid, I used to think, I'm glad my house is down here and not up there. So, husband is actually from Alberta, Shirley, and he used to work for an environmental company that did specific things for Alberta. Well, now we're doing stuff with British Columbia. Well, when there's a mine and they're doing some kind of scientific something, we got to know, is our water clean? Is our soil clean to grow our food in our backyard? So all I'm saying is, you have to take some responsibility for yourself and for your families, because the government is falling behind and has fallen behind because there's so many things. It's like putting out fires, right? Like literally putting out fires, trying to figure out, okay, this is the one that's causing the most problems, so we have to address it. So I just want you to be aware of that. Like, we sometimes think we're so protected, but they do have our health in as their number one, but they're overwhelmed. It's overwhelming. Even right now, and I don't want to bring anything controversial, so maybe I won't say it, but I'll just say vaccines. You know, we kind of are in a clinical trial, sort of, right? Because this is the first time that they created a vaccine this quickly. So I'll say just that. I'm not going to say anything about specific vaccines, but this is the quickest they've come out with a vaccine for something so important. And
Look at the fluminimide years ago.
what's that?
You know, the fluminimide.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so, you know, it's kind of a bit of a trial to see, like, you know, what's going to happen. So the world has changed. The bans and the regulations, they can take decades, even after a harmful effect has been found. So take that in. It can take decades, so years, for the ban or the regulation of something to take place and be put in place, even when they know it's harmful. All right, so, you know, that's something to think about as well. All right, so again, you know, like, really think about what's the next leaded gasoline. We used to have leaded gasoline. You know, you could be filling your gas and you could be taking in the fumes. Okay, so this isn't all doom and gloom, because I don't want you to feel this is all doom and gloom. This just means, like, if you don't feel good about something, then don't be near that thing or bring that into your home. So chemicals are all around us. So you can't cut them all out of our lives. We just can't. So we have to have some kind of some balance here. But we can identify the most common harmful ones. So even if you take the recommendations from today's class, you will be cleaning up your environment so much that you will be making a difference, and it will affect your health. So again, not doom and gloom. I just wanted to have that impact in the beginning, to just note that even though there's some things around you and you think, oh, well, that must be safe because it's still been going on for the last year in my community. Well, it may or may not be that safe. So use your own intuition, your own spidey sense, as they say, if something doesn't feel right to you. All right, so we're going to go now through the different rooms. We're going to start with, we're just looking at some of the worst offenders and learn some quick, easy steps to do that. So the first place is the kitchen. So we're going to go into the kitchen. So there are hundreds of approved chemicals that they can use on our food, and we call those pesticides. They've been approved, that they're not killing us, maybe, that they're not so bad, but we do have pesticides on our food. Like, when you think about it, if, you know, why haven't they put a full ban on using these pesticides, and all our food in our grocery store is organic and you don't have to, like, look at a label? Wouldn't that be nice if we didn't have any of those kind of the pesticides that can harm us, harm our babies, harm our health? It would be nice, but there still is a difference. You go into the grocery store. I hate that. I really do. I hate that the prices are different. I hate that when I'm feeling like I'm low on cash towards the end of the month for groceries, that I might not go for some of the organic stuff because, you know, I need to, you know, buy a certain amount of food. It's a shame it's like that, but there's a difference. And so when you go in the grocery store, there's this and there's that. There are pesticides that are linked to certain health problems, such as cancer, and as little as, like, chronic inflammation, and even as little as headaches. So this is a picture of a plane, and it's doing, what is it doing? It's dropping the fertilizer or the pesticides, something that might not be great for us, in the air and down onto the crops. So you can have pesticides on the actual fruit, like you've got an apple and it's on the fruit, but it can also get from the rain and everything, go into the soil. And so then it's the uptake from that fruit or vegetable or potato. Potato is actually one of the worst pesticides, by the way, into the food, because it's in the soil. So it's great to wash our fruit in that, but it can also get into the soil. So something like an avocado, where I thought, all right, I don't need to buy organic avocados because it has such a thick skin. It's probably not one of the worst ones, but it still could get some kind of pesticides in it. So let's have a look here. So your best options to avoid pesticides in the kitchen is to eat organic, and look for the labels that I have up here. So those are the label in the States and the label in Canada. To be considered organic or organic in either place, they have to follow a lot of different rules. They still can spray certain things, but they have to, it's pretty strict what they can do with their crops. Now, I want to just say one thing, and I learned this in nutrition years ago. There might be a local farm near where you live who might not have the cash injection to be able to do all the things they need to do to make themselves considered organic with this label. So also consider local, buying local, especially as we're going into the spring, summer season. Sometimes buying local might be just as great. Like I have a blueberry bush on my balcony. Well, I know there's no pesticides on it because I'm growing it myself. So your little hobby farm neighbor might not have the money, because it takes money to get this certification. They might not have, it's called the ISO something certification, but they might do some better practices. So here's the thing I want to put out there to all of you. Don't be shy to talk to your farmer. If you see them at a farmer's market, ask them, what do you spray on your, I don't know, asparagus? What do you use? Ask them, and they will tell you. Most of the time, they'll tell you. So local sometimes, that's why they say, if you can buy organic, great. If you can't buy organic, try and buy local. That's one of the reasons, is because lots of times the local smaller farms are not using some of these high and big pesticides on their food. So they might be, closer to organic than non-organic. And then also they haven't traveled distance. Do you know what they have to do to some produce when they have to travel like a huge distance, when things come from other countries, or even from your own country, but from the south, and it's coming up to the other places? They have to spray them. They have to, they put them in a gaseous thing. They have to get across the border. They have to do eradication, and they do some things to bring stuff into where you live. So if you can buy local, you're avoiding all of that. All right, the foods that have the highest pesticide content is called the Dirty Dozen. And the Dirty Dozen changes year to year. So you can actually Google search the Dirty Dozen, and you'll get to a website, and the website will tell you what is the Dirty Dozen for 2021. Now, if you see the list, the first thing that pops up there, one of my very top favorite things in the world, strawberries. Do you know why that's the highest pesticide crop? Other than the bugs obviously love eating strawberries just like we do. It's kind of a funny one, like you don't think about it. Anybody? Because the seeds are on the outside of the strawberry. You notice like the seeds are all on the outside. And when they spray it, guess what? The sticky spray can get stuck near those seeds. Well, we eat the seeds, we eat the whole strawberry. Like, we rinse it a little bit and we eat it, and we're eating those seeds. That's why it can hold more pesticide. Excuse me, because the seeds are on the outside. So, and then there's things like spinach. I guess spinach, the bugs really like spinach. So spinach is a highly pesticide one that they spray. Kale, nectarines, apples. I will say this, I do not buy anything other than organic apples because I enjoy eating an apple every day. And the wax on the apples and the pesticides, I can taste it. Like if I eat a non-organic apple, I can tell. So just be conscientious. If you can't do everything, consider the dirtiest, quote, dirtiest foods. Now, here's a tip, a simple.
If you wash off the apple, like with a mild soap and water, and then rinse it off with water, does that help it, or is
absolutely we forget sometimes. Like whenever I always laugh when I see like the box of kale and it says triple washed. Like, does that mean that I can just eat it right out of the thing? Well, some
Yeah, I
people have
don't do that. I still wash it.
yeah, and same. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
I wasn't in the factory when they were boxing it all together. What does triple washed really mean? Like, did they literally triple wash it? But anyways, I still rinse, because you can still get rid of stuff by just rinsing in warm water. So
Right.
I don't have a specific so I'll just give you, so the properly washing, you don't need to buy a fancy spray or wash for your vegetables. Just make sure your sink is clean. You've cleaned your sink nicely. Fill it up with some, some cool water or warm water. And you can just, two things. I know people do two things. You've got the cheapest vinegar, basic plain vinegar. I go like this, maybe half a cup of vinegar goes into my big tub. Is either your kitchen sink or you've got like its own tub. You bring all your groceries home, for example. Just go like this, half a cup at the most of vinegar. And I would put a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on how much stuff you have, of baking soda. That is it. That's all you need. Say you get your apples, you put all your apples, just come home from groceries, you put all your apples in there around 5 minutes. You don't need it to be in there any longer. Now, the key is make sure you pick up the apple and then rinse it through with the warm water. So hopefully, your tap water is clean, and rinse everything. So you sit it in the solution, and that helps to get some of the stuff off. And you can even feel it, when you rinse the apple and you can feel it sticky in your hand. It's like the wax and some of the pesticide. So then I have to, get soap and wash my hands. So that will save you so much. If you cannot afford the organic, when I buy organic, I still will rinse it under warm water. And sometimes I still just do this solution just to make sure everything's extra clean. So I think eating the apple skin is a good idea. There's lots of fiber and lots of nutrients in it. So I want to be able to eat the outside of my fruit, like my apple. All right. Yes, it is. It's such great information. It's such simple information. And so I get it. Like, I'm on a pension now because I'm of age. I retired from my job. So I'm on a fixed income. It's a fixed income. I don't have chance to do overtime or anything like that. So I get it that organic food can be expensive. And I've had a comment. Okay, how much water? Carmen's asking. Well, okay, so you've got your basin or your kitchen sink, and you fill it up. Like, I'm not going to give exact. That's the beauty of this. It doesn't have to be exact. If you're finding that the fruit's not cleaning well enough, maybe add a little bit of vinegar and a little bit more of baking soda. But I want you to use your intuition with this, okay? Like, trust yourself. Fill your sink, half full. Do your half a cup of vinegar, put your tablespoon or your teaspoon of baking soda, move it around in there. So now you've got this great solution, and put your produce in there. You'll get a feel for it. You'll get a feel for it after a while. If it's only a few apples you're doing, you only need, maybe less than a teaspoon of baking soda. So just you can Google and get very specifics, but I do believe it depends on how much fruit and stuff you're putting in there. Okay, so that's basically for the kitchen. It's more about the food you bring into the kitchen versus your kitchen cleaning. You can use baking soda and vinegar in a spray bottle to clean your counters if you want. Right now, because we're even more careful with cleanliness, especially if you share a home with people, somebody, maybe your spouse or kids are going to school and coming home because of the situation we are in this world right now. So don't be afraid of using some of your cleaners. Just check the ingredients, and we'll get to some of the ingredients, but just check the ingredients. Look for some more natural products for cleaning. When it comes to disinfecting, all I ask, and we'll get to that soon, is just make sure you've got good airflow where you are. Because I know some of you probably still use a few of these products. Mary, did you have a question?
I did. Are you going to be sending notes out in regards to what you're saying today?
I'm going to send out a few notes, and I am working on putting a PDF together that gives some of the specifics. So, but it's not quite ready. This class is brand new. So if I can get this PDF ready, I'll send it out to you. You may not get it this time, but just
because I'm missing stuff. I'm missing stuff, trying to take notes. I'm writing and I write slow. and you're
Right.
on to the next thing. So now I want this.
Okay, yeah, it's very important. So what I suggest is please just come back to this class in a week or so. And I am working, it's Saturday today, it's sort of my day off, but I am going to work on the PDF to give you some specifics. So not to worry. I mean, sometimes it takes a while to come into our heads and get there. So
if we go back to a detox class, it's going to be the same thing again, because that's what I'm wanting.
If you come back to this class, it'll be the same stuff I'm teaching, and I should
good.
have that PDF ready by then.
All right.
And Jody's asking, do I use organic baking soda? I don't. I mean, I don't even think I've seen organic baking soda, to be honest, but maybe there is such a thing. I just use basic, just the everyday baking soda. And I know, like with baking powder, there's some very specific ones. So if people are gluten-free, and there's some things that, you know, if you're a vegan diet, that you use a certain type of baking powder, but for the purposes of cleaning, any baking soda will be fine. I honestly don't think I've seen organic baking soda. All right, let's keep going so we don't run out of time. The bathroom. Well, you know, you want to say farewell to fragrances. I hate to say it, unless you're using natural essential oils, which I do encourage. There's lots of amazing companies with beautiful essential oils that are pure. Like doTERRA, D-O, and Terra, T-E-R-R-A. There, and then what's the other one? Young, I think it's called Young. Somebody usually is in here that sells it. Young Essentials or Young. There's another one, but
Young Living.
Young Living. There you go, Bev. Yeah, Young Living. Yes, thank you, Robin. Young Living and doTERRA is the other one. Those both have amazing, gorgeous, beautiful, pure essential oils. You can get lemon. You can get all sorts of really lovely smells. I love grapefruit, so I've got a grapefruit one. And I just put a couple drops either in my homemade cleaner, or I put it in a diffuser so things feel clean. I've been working, as I said, with the government for so many years. We had strict policy, no fragrances, because there's always somebody that's allergic. We were not allowed to wear anything like cologne or perfume or anything for months and years. Artificial fragrances, they are chemicals. They add it to everything just for things to smell good. And it's linked to things as minimal as, say, a headache, to difficulties breathing, to poor concentration affecting your cognitive, to bloating, to muscle weakness, dizziness. We don't even think sometimes that it could be the product we're using on our bodies or to clean with that's causing hormone imbalance or even cancers. And I can say those things because there's enough studies out there, and I'm not putting a bunch of studies up because I wanted to make this simple for you today and the time that we have. There are studies that link all of these things to some of the things that we are still allowed to use in today's society. So, you know, yes, thanks, Gina. Now, okay, that's good to know. Yes.
I have a question. Febreze
Sure.
is one of the biggest things selling now because their fragrance is the most popular. So you're saying that those are chemicals?
Well, you know, I don't want to go against any specific company, but when I think of Febreze, for example, I think it's a neat technology that, you know, you can have like, you know, the soccer bags that came back from, you know, sweaty clothes and all that stuff. And you can spray the Febreze and it masks or gets rid of the, you know, the dog hair smell or whatever the smell is. But you got to wonder, what is it doing and what's it putting in the air? So I'm not saying I've never had Febreze. I think we have one in the cupboard, but you got to read the labels. You got to read the labels, and then you pick out a word like whatever it is, and then look that up on Google and see what is it linked to something. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, be conscientious about what you put on your body and what you put out there. Like Lysol. You know what, Lysol, Robin? We used to always have Lysol in our house growing up. But I'm going to say that it's probably not the greatest. But here's the thing. If you're going to clean with some of the things you have still in your house, hey, we all have, I'm joking. We all have masks now, right? Why not put your mask on, get the fan on, not just the fan blowing air, but the fan taking up in the bath. Always have your fan on in the bathroom when you're cleaning your bathroom. Have your windows open. If you're going to use some of these things, don't be breathing them in. put the mask on. Literally, I've got about 20 masks that are my masks, and my husband's got his 20, and, you know, we rotate our masks every day. So it's become easy to do. We're not like feeling suffocated as we did when we first had to start wearing masks. We're starting to get a little bit used to it. So put a mask on when you're going to clean with your Lysol or whatever you're going to use. But I wanted to point this out more about the perfumes and the colognes, because I still have my little perfume package, and I don't want to throw it out because it was expensive, but I don't really use it anymore. The other thing, so here's some words to look for on your labels. Fragrance, that's chemical when it says fragrance. Parfum, that's fragrance. That perfume is chemicals. FD and C, the phthalates, the DBP, the DEHP, and the DEP. All of those things are not good. Those are chemicals. We don't want those really we don't want to ingest it. We don't want it on our skin. So it's interesting if you start looking at some of your products, how many of these things are in there. I will try to put these words in the post email to you. So you will have these. So it might smell nice, but it might not be natural ingredients. And sometimes it is, and you'll be surprised. Some product will say it's got lemon oil. So it's from the lemon. That's nice. One of the things that bugs me with food and stuff is like, I love bananas, but I hate the fake banana taste or the smell. I don't know. It seems so fake to me, bananas. Like, you know, it's like when you go for a smoothie somewhere, it's like, are you putting real banana in there? Or are you putting, you know, banana flavor? That's just an example. All right, so that's our bathroom. The laundry, this is the most crucial. I really want you to be careful with the laundry. There's lots of chemicals in our laundry rooms. Who here uses bleach? You don't have to put your hand up, but bleach, that was a common, I think I still actually have a container of bleach in my house. I want to tell you about bleach and ammonia. They are dangerous. So if you have it in your home and you choose to use it to clean, you know, whatever it is you're going to clean, make sure you've got gloves on, make sure you put your mask on, make sure the windows are open, and make sure the fan, you can put the kitchen fan on, the hood fan, and your bathroom fans on, just so you can get it getting out of the area. I know that my dad's cleaner, she loves bleach. She uses bleach, but I hope and pray she's got a mask on and the window open when she's cleaning the bathrooms, because she does the floors. She uses bleach in a solution to clean things, even some of I think the utensils in the kitchen. I mean, she rinses everything off, but she's using bleach. Yeah, and it does give you a headache. Why do you think it gives us a headache? I can't stand, I mean, ammonia, but we still use these things. I want you just to, the most important thing about the laundry is have it ventilated. Make sure the windows are open. Who cares if it's cold outside? Just put a sweater on if you have to. Open up the doors and windows when you're cleaning. Laundry also. Do you know that some of the chemicals we use in our laundry room can cause permanent lung damage, cardiovascular damage, your systems, and it is giving you a higher risk of getting cancer. So the main thing, yes, tea tree oil is a beautiful oil, Gina. Yeah, I love tea tree. I love the smell of it. Australia uses a lot of tea tree oil. They've got a lot of products in Australia. I remember seeing that there. That is okay. That's a natural good oil, and it's a good germ fighter. It kills bacteria. Tea tree oil is very, very good. There are a few other ones. What is it called? I can't think of the name of it. Thieves oil. Has anybody heard of thieves oil? That's another one. Yeah, that's a great one. That kills off everything. When I used to go to yoga, when we had yoga, my yoga instructor put that in her cleaning thing, and she wiped down everything with thieves oil. And I used to go to a little gym where it was a small, like, boutique gym. They used to wipe down everything with thieves oil. Way better than some of these chemicals. Now, one thing I want you to be really clear with all of you is do not mix your chemicals. You can make it way, way worse. Yes, Young Living has the thieves oil. It's an amazing product. So I would get it from whoever you can get it from. Yeah, interesting. The weed killer. Like I have some Dawn. You know, Dawn is the soap for cleaning dishes. You know, and it's got the picture. It's the commercial with the little duck. You know, that got oil on it from the water, and they use Dawn. I don't know if you have the same commercial we have. Cleans the birds, the birds in nature, so that they can go back in the wild. And they use Dawn because Dawn's cuts grease really, really well. You know, it's not probably the best thing to be using all the time, but it's this combination for weed killer. That's amazing. But please don't typically mix any of your bottles like you think you've got your one bathroom cleaner and this. Oh, I'm going to mix them together because it's going to make it better. No, don't do that. You can create something way, way more toxic to you.
Well, you know, I had a issue where I was working cleaning a nursing home. And I ended up getting sick, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. So when I went to the doctor, I had congestive heart failure, and they said the chemicals I used to clean, a virus attacked my heart, and now I have it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Larita. Yes, that's the thing. There's some permanent damage, and we're not realizing that. So, you know, that's a job. So you had a job. These are the cleaners you use, and you just abided by the rules. But really, you got like even my husband working at a paint, like in the home hardware, he worked in the paint area. He was taken in, breathing in pain. I'll tell you this from personal experience as a rehabilitation consultant when I used to work. Do you know how many disabilities I saw with people with cancers? And I found out where did they work? They worked in the paint area of the hardware store. And they were all getting sort of similar cancers. Over my 14 years of doing that job, every single one, I was scared when I saw the type of cancer, and then I looked and saw what their job was. They worked in the paint area. So there are things out there in this world, like you got to protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves. Okay, I don't want to run out of time because this is my second time teaching this class. So sometimes we have questions and there's a lot of great information. In the laundry room, the bleach, also keep away from the pressurized cans, because they have to put chemicals to make it pressurized. So if you can at all buy your cleaners that are just the liquid that you add into water and mix as opposed to sprays. Okay, that's just in general. Carpet cleaners are one of the worst. Those poor people that clean carpets for a living, they're in toxic stuff all the time. Read your labels, never mix your products, have airflow, and try to switch to some homemade cleaners once in a while. You'll notice you won't have as many headaches. All right, and then the last place, this is the fun. This for me was fun because when I found this out, I was so excited. So we've talked a lot about the air quality in the other rooms. So now we're talking about the living room. Poor air quality leads to causes is the biggest cause of death worldwide. Poor air quality. You know, when we've had, like in your area, maybe there was fires from the summertime, there's fires and they say, oh, your air level is this. And then they compare it to like other countries that are like that all the time. Do you remember, like, it was just last year, I think it was in California, the California fires were coming up right up, even up to where we are, maybe even into Alberta. I don't know. It was so hard to breathe. And there are countries that have that level all the time, which is really hard. Do you know, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, Jody, for cleaning the toilets, I know my husband, he uses his little concoction of vinegar and baking soda and to clean the toilets. So check out stuff, try some of your natural stuff. We also use Shackley. That's the company we use. And I don't know what they actually put in the products, but there's not chemicals. We feel better even with our clothing. We're using the natural laundry detergent. So talking about I'm just looking at my slide. So asthma, allergies, COPD, you know, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, that's what that stands for. Hypertension, increasing your blood pressure. Can you believe that? So what's the best thing to remove toxins from our air, from the air in our homes? Do you know what that is? This is the thing I was so excited about learning. Dusting. I mean, I'm not talking about in the 70s with the cute little duster and you'd go around and like, what were you doing there? You were just taking the dust off of that item and moving it onto something else or into the air so you can breathe it in again. Guess what? You got to be careful when you're vacuuming as well, because sometimes it's pushing out stuff as well. The best thing I can teach you to end this class is take a damp cloth and wipe down your dust, like get rid of it onto the cloth, like get rid of it. Go through 5, 6, 10 cloths, I don't care. Have nice, clean, damp cloths and go around your home and pick up the dust and get it into the laundry, You will clean your air the best by dusting. I never knew that. I never thought to do dusting. And why is that? Because guess what? All the chemicals that are in your air from the pollution, maybe from the busy road outside, what happens to the chemicals? They're floating around, you're breathing them in, and then eventually they fall and they end up on an item like your computer. Like I have dust on my computer right now, and they settle into the dust. So if you don't get anything else from this class, if you can just start using damp cloths and, get your stack of them. You don't have to use the same one and move some of the chemicals from one place to the next. Use a cloth, use one side of it, turn it over, use the other side of it, put it in your bucket to wash. You will notice that your air quality, you can buy one of those air quality Dyson things. Those things are great when you can afford those, but this is the best thing you can do is dust. So there we are. That's the class. So somebody's asking, how does that impact wood furniture over time? With wood furniture, I would say not to make it wet. I would use those microfiber cloths that because of the nature of the material, picks up the dust. So if I have a piano, so we have 2 pianos actually in the house. So we dust with the microfiber on things that are very vulnerable like that way, like wood or, the piano enamel and stuff. But for everything else, like, I use a damp cloth. So we've gone through the class. This is the summary of the things we've learned. I am going to send you out a post email. Please check the schedule at Get Set Up. We have so many new classes. So check for the new classes because there's new stuff coming out every week. And in the email I send you, there'll be a link to do feedback. Please give us some feedback. We love the feedback. We listen to what you have to say. We try to improve our classes as best as we can. And so I tweak my classes all the time from things people have told me or asked me to do. We have a new button now. When you sign up for a class, you can click and invite a friend. That's kind of neat. That's brand new. And the email again is help@getsetup.io. That's the email that you can send to suggest a class or request a session. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. I hope this has been helpful.
Thank you for the class. It has been helpful.
Good. And as I get a little bit, it's a brand new class, and I might try to specify some things. Maybe I'll put some measurements on when you're doing the cleaning of the food, since that's come up a few times. And Nelda, so sorry that you came a little bit late, but just come to the class next week. I believe I'm teaching it next week as well. Yeah, it's at 9 o'clock next week, same time on Saturday. So
when you wash the food, what do you use? Dawn liquid or what you use?
To wash my food, I do warm water, a little bit of vinegar, and a teaspoon of baking soda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in my notes then. Thanks.
And then sometimes what I do when I'm drying stuff is I'll take a paper towel and you rinse it in warm water, and you take the paper towel to clean, to wipe up.
Wash the wax off the apples,
there
right?
Might be a bit of residue.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you everybody for being here. It's been really fun. I must go. I have another class to teach in under 30 minutes. So maybe I'll see you there. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for a good class.
You're welcome.
Okay. You too.
All right.
Great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Mother's Day.
Oh yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And yes, that's tomorrow.
We all have a mother.
I'll be thinking of my mom tomorrow. She's not with me either. So we'll do something special tomorrow for Mom for sure. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks
Bye.
for everything.